It is noteworthy that Secretary of State of the United States, Mr. Blinken, is on a long and extensive visit to 6 countries in Asia. Now, the timing and the context of his visit is very important. I personally believe his visit to these 6 countries and all the meetings is holding with his counterparts, as well as the so-called 2+2 meetings in Japan, in the Philippines, etc., are all designed to further increase the pressure against China to line up assets in preparation for a showdown with China. We want to have peace and development. And whatever Mr. Blinken is doing in this part of the world, talking about war preparedness, talking about potential for war, for example, are not in line with the megatrend in our part of the world. In a sense, if I may take the liberty to say this in my personal capacity, I think the Biden administration has proven without any doubt to be a government agitating for Cold War. And Mr. Blinken is very much part of that strategy. I watched very closely to what Blinken was doing in Japan, because in the so-called 2+2 involving the United States and Japan, secretaries of state and defense, their counterparts in Japan, they actually worked into a very dangerous situation, because it's apparent that Mr. Blinken and Mr. Austin want to create a situation which either President Trump or President Harris, has to be decided in November, and we'll need to follow the momentum they create. And what is that momentum? That momentum is enhanced so-called security arrangement between the United States and Japan to contain China. Therefore, for example, to turn whatever the US presence, military presence in Japan, into a separate command, reporting directly to the Pacific headquarters, for example, is a very obvious way to hijack Japan more and more onto the bandwagon of the United States in pursuing of hostility and confrontation and antagonism against China. I also noticed that Mr. Blinken is in Manila, try to re-agitate the President Marcos administration to enhance their agitation for a showdown with China. And his visit, for example, to Mongolia probably is very much of a personal tour rather than a real business visit, because if Mr. Blinken or his State Department really bet on that they can turn Mongolia into a country of hostility and confrontation against either China or Russia, its 2 neighboring countries, or both, that strategy will not work, and that strategy will fail before it really starts. The United States wants to become the so-called the 3rd neighboring country of Mongolia, but that strategy is not for peace and development. It's not for the fundamental benefit of the people in Mongolia. It is, again, very unfortunately, the vestige of strategy of the Cold War, of confrontation, which may lead to war. I truly believe Mr. Blinken's visit to the 6 Asian countries will achieve nothing constructive and will probably cause more escalation of tension in our part of the world. In that sense, I truly believe this mission will be a mission of failure. Whatever the US wants to do may be designed to disrupt peace and stability and growth in our part of the world. That may be the real scheme behind their pretenses and excuses. And I hope people in our part of the world, or the ASEAN countries and other countries in general, should be aware of the hidden agenda that they want to bring to our part of the world. when you hear what they are talking about in terms of Quad or the nuclear submarine project in Australia, and the 2+2 with Japan, 2+2 with the Republic of Korea, you name it, they're talking about a Cold War mentality. I'm afraid President Biden will be judged by history as a Cold War president, and Mr. Blinken will be judged as a Cold War warrior, which is not a term for pride. It is a term for infamy, because we do not want to have a resurrection of a Cold War. We do not want to have a new Cold War.